certainly we want to welcome you all to the virtual CEO Roundtable. And this edition is actually called Business Getting Back to the Basics. And so we are honored because we are the African American Business Association of the Joliet Chamber. And we are honored to be here. And we have two wonderful, wonderful guests that we are excited to have with us. Before we introduce those guests, I want to make sure everyone knows that AABA, which is the African American Business Association, we exist to make sure that not only do we support, but we promote Black businesses within the Joliet region. And so what we do is with this particular segment, we take time out to really bring to you the experts, the people that's been in this industry, that has been in business and has led business organizations for many years. And they are going to come and they give expert best practices and they get to share their story. And what we hope is that those individuals that are aspiring to be business leaders and folks that are running their business will be able to listen in and get information from what we feel are experts in the area of business. And we're going to sit back and learn from them. So tonight, I would like to take this time to welcome to one of our first panelists is going to be Terry Morris, who is the owner of Minor & Morris, has been in business for over 20 years right here in the Joliet area. And we are elated to have you. Welcome, Terry.
Well, thank you.
And we also have with us Wright, who is a State Farm agent, owner of his own firm right here in Joliet, and has been doing this for 30 years in Joliet. So sit back and we're going to dive right on in because we want to make sure that we have plenty of time to hear exactly what we need to hear. And what we're listening in on is how we're going to be able to learn from our experts on business best practices so we can sustain, grow, and that we can continue to be an example in the Joliet region. With that being said, we're going to dive on in. Our first question, gentlemen, we want to know how important is it for companies to have a mission and vision? When you first starting off and you're imagine Howard 30 years ago, when you first starting off, how important was it that you had a mission and a vision?
Thank you, Mr. Parker, for this opportunity. It's very, very important to have the mission. The mission actually states to your public or to your community, wherever you're going to operate, the duty and the focus of your business. And it's best to have that place and niche within your community. It also shows your aspiration, what your business is going to appear like, your goals. It offers your plan. When you have a vision, that's just visionary. That means that's imagination. That's what I'm going to look like 30 years from now. I want to be the best steakhouse. I'm going to be the best barber in town. I'm going to be the best sales agent in my company. That's the vision.
Very good. Awesome. Terry.
Yeah, you know what? I think I agree, 100% with Mr. Wright, but also for myself and for my team, my employees, those that work with me, is important to know what our mission is as to why we're here. What are we trying to accomplish for the community, for our customers or for our families, and the vision, as he said, to know where we're going, what we're striving for. And I also, again, think it's very important for us to know that, and us, being myself, my staff, those that work with us. So they have that in mind, a goal, of where we're going.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that both are spot on. When you look at the people that work for your company, they also need to know what the mission, what the vision is. So they know every day that they clock in or every day that they come to carry out their duties, that they understand exactly what needs to happen. And I think it's important for us to know specifically how important it is for folks to know their mission and vision in business. Now I'm going to take you guys back far. I'm going to take you back. If you had to do this all over again, and we're going to look at, your first year as a CEO, what would you do different? Your first year as a CEO. Now we're talking a lot of folks that have been in business, a lot of folks that are looking to inspire to be in business. They're going to be listening in because they want to know, you've been in business for 20, 30 years. If you did it all over again, What is something that you would do in that first year different? We'll start with Howard, and then we'll go to you, Terry.
Terry should have taken off on this. He has most experience. Wow, what would I do the first year? I'd wake up from my dream and face reality right away. The first thing that I felt, now that I'm looking over my shoulders, and I've done a lot of that since the pandemic came and hit us a little bit, is that I would go back and I would choose a mentor. I probably have two at least, maybe three, but I'd have one person that works in an organization that do what I do and has my focus and can explain to me what it looks like ahead instead of me looking and saying, I want to see ahead. He tells me what's ahead. I'd probably maybe two people, one or two people from another industry that could shed light on what the market does in their area, because that really refocuses what I'm doing. If he's doing something, I'm probably serving some of his same customers. So I want to know what those people like and where they shop and what kind of things they want. I would create a real business plan, not one based upon a guy that's done 30 years in the industry already and told me, man, this is what you do. You buy a car, you buy a new house. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. I have to earn my spot in the community as well and work my way forward. I would do a lot more research than I did. Now I know location is for real. You have to be in the right spot to sell what you're selling. I probably couldn't sell ice as good as I am. I couldn't sell ice in North Pole.
That's a good point, Terry.
That's a tough one. I think it's because it's probably, different things. But looking back, I guess, because, the times has changes over the years. But looking back then, what I would probably do is to probably work a little closer with other professionals that would assist me, like my attorneys, my banker, to have more of a financial plan, in place, as opposed to just kind of going, the day by day type of operation. To look at, to try to, look at that goal for the strategically more financially, I believe.
I love it. And let me tell you why. Because I think that sometimes when you're starting off, you put these blinders on where you feel like you don't need people. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, when you're starting off and you're going into business, and some people have been in the business a long time and still haven't gotten the notion that you really do need people that are experts in their area.
Definitely. Right.
But now, let me ask you this question as a spinoff to this, because again, we want to really be able to help sustain Black businesses in our region. How do you know and gather the type of people that you need around you? I mean, you mentioned a couple already. You mentioned a banker. You need a good banker. You need a good finance professional. How do you make sure that you have the right people in your corner? There's a number of banks out here. How do you find the right banker? How do you find the right finance person that's for you? How do you pick those people, and then how do you get them incorporated into meeting your needs? We'll start with Howard, and then we'll end with you, Terry.
Wow, I wanted to segue off Terry because I know he probably had it all figured out at the beginning. I think I missed one point on what we were doing. If I did it 30 years ago, I'd probably hire before I hire, because I didn't pick the right people to help me dream like I'm dreaming. You got to have people that do what you.
I like that.
They need your dream. Mm-hmm. If they don't wake up in the morning with the same dream you have, man, you're in trouble in a tough area. I have found looking back again. I have to look back now because looking ahead is kind of like this little short window for me now. When you're looking at this thing, you want to have, I needed to have a CPA to really review my business plan with me. I found out the hard way I needed a banker. When I walked in and I asked him for a loan on my business, he asked me about my business, how long I had been in operation. He asked me how I did my market. How did you decide to move to this area and be on this corner? And what are you going to do with my money when you get it? I said, well, I'm going to spend it right away. He said, well, how are you going to pay me back? I said, I don't know. I'm going to work hard. He says, he kind of flipped his book open. He said, all of these guys are working hard. I'm having a tough time for them paying me back. I'm finding it hard to let you have my money. Who's helping you? I found out right then that I needed a CPA I really needed a financial planner to help me make some goals, because actually if I were going to spend some of the money and save some of the money, I had no idea. And I also needed an attorney. I found that out really quickly, to review papers, to review things that people, when I signed the lease on my first building, when I got too big for it and wanted to move out, the guy said, "You can't move. You got to stay 2 more years." But I had outgrown it, but I didn't have anyone to show me those contracts and to guide me in those areas.
Okay.
Yeah. I think with that, I might do what I did. I just tried to use people that was either recommended to me by other people that had already used their services, and seemed to be, proven to work for them. And so basically, reaching out to other professions that there was, I'm in the same profession, and you kind of use some of their same people, as well as Howard said, people that had a similar vision, and even if not, to take heed to what they say, their advice. It may not be what I'm thinking, but sometimes you just have to take that step back and bounce it off of other people.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, very good. I'm loving it. I'm loving it, because the theme that we're all hearing is that you definitely need people, and you need to be able to realize that people that may be in your own network do know who to call, and then you're able to learn from them. So when you look around and you pick up the phone and you call people in the same industry, they're likely to have used some of the same people that have been successful, or maybe not as successful, and you're able to really learn that. And I think that's why we're here today, because we want to learn these business principles. And that's why it's important that the way I look at it is all businesses need to operate in the spirit of excellence, because you never know who will need to vouch for your business, and who will need your services, and who will give a raving review for your business. And I really like what I'm hearing. But Howard, you brought up something that most people don't do. Most people in business that are looking to identify their market, they don't research their competitors. They don't research the market that they need to be in. Where do you start? Because some people just don't know. How do you research, and how did you know that you needed to be in Joliet? How did you know that this was the right market? And did you know that the market today, in Joliet, where you're at now, would be where it was? Did you know that 30 years ago? But how do you even start? Or what's your recommendation for that business owner that's trying to identify the market is one area, but also the competitors on the second one?
Well, one of the things that I didn't know, obviously, when I started out, I switched industry. I went from accounting right to sales. And you know how accountants are. They want to count everything you sold. And if you didn't sell it, they come looking for you. But the thing with me is, so I switched everything, switched my vision, and went to the other side. But I didn't research the market. I didn't know that I was selling and competing with various companies. But now we would compete with even more companies. We compete with people that are not in our community, because of the internet. It's opened the doors to the world. So when I'm selling on my blog, I have to keep in mind, when I do my research now, if I were coming in now, then I got to find out how are people really doing purchases. If they're doing it on the internet, I can have brick and mortar if I want to, but I don't really need brick and mortar. I just need a computer, and I need an advertising agency to put me out there in front of those folks so they know where I am. The other thing with that is, and it goes right back to the financial plan that the forecast that you put together, things that you put in place, that as you get a step or two into the game, you figure out this is not working. And you have to be proactive. If you start reacting, you'll be out of business. Am I right, Brother Terry?
You're right.
You got to be proactive. You got to know, I'm on the wrong corner. All my customers are going back to their family in Florida, and I'm in Illinois. What am I going to do? So I figured that out later on. And I know, and I understand my competitor. I know if they're selling this at this price, I got to make something. I got to make an adjustment. I have to know what's in that package. And if I don't understand what's in that guy's package, then I don't know what to sell you. One of the things that you could do very easily nowadays, you can do ghost shopping. You can actually put things in your cart. You don't have to buy it. Unless you're at Amazon, you better be careful when you jump back on there, man. They'll pull your cart over.
That's right.
Fill it up. But if you're in a position where you can do ghost shopping, you can find out what that person's selling at a price, and then you'll know. You also have the industry that you're purchasing from. You know what your markup should be. You know what your market is. And if they can't afford your product, you're selling the wrong thing. It's time to switch. You figure those things out as you go. You don't know that the first 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff. And this is why we're here, because we want to be able to learn from those who have kind of paved the way, so that we can be able to have what I call a competitive advantage over our competitors, because we're getting the information. And I think that this is the information, Howard, that you shared was just really, it's really phenomenal. Terry, I do want to make sure that you have an opportunity to share when you look at, doing the research on your competitors, doing the research on your market and where you land. How important is that, and what went through your mind as you look at even now expansion?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to, know who your competitors are and, what they're doing, to a certain degree, and know your market, to the point with whatever you could do to reach the people, in your market. If you use a marketing agency, or if you, just get out, in the community, right, depending on your business. Would kind of dictate that.
Mm-hmm,
but definitely know your competitor.
Yeah, very good. It's important to know your competitors. Do not sleep on it, because if you do sleep on it, you can very well be putting closing your own coffin for your business, Terry.
So you might wake up out of it.
Oh yeah, exactly. There you go. And we
close your coffin.
We want to help you out here. So listen, this is going to be a very interesting question here. This is when you guys get an opportunity to talk a little bit about your industry. I think people learn when when people share their challenges. So if you guys were able to look in the next 5 years, what challenges are you guys probably going to face in the next 5 years of your business? Now, if you would have asked 3 or 4 years ago, did people know how the pandemic was going to impact their business, they wouldn't probably have been able to tell you that answer. No. But when you look at it today, the next 5 years, this is industry specific. What is probably going to potentially be one or two of your greatest challenges in the next 5 years? And let me preface this question, because what we're trying to get our business owners to really see is that the more you can be ready and plan for the next 3 to 5 years, the better off you'll probably be when things like the pandemic come about. You've been planning for all along. So we'll start with Howard, and then we'll go with Terry. We're going to talk about the next 5 years. What are one or two biggest challenges you think you might face?
I would say myself as a CEO, and when I do this as a CEO, I step beyond being a business owner where I'm just going to work every day and working in my business. Now I have to learn how to work on my business. The last year, 18 months taught me to work on my business. And it does not necessarily have to be in the office. It can actually be at home, actually. So as I understand this, I need to understand what my customer is doing, what their perception of buying and purchasing, what avenue they're going to use it through. If they're not going to come to my door, then I need to be at their door. Right. And the one way to get into their door is through the internet. It has really changed the way we do. I have to understand what the past did for me, so it pushes me into the future. So, and there are a lot of different things that are going to happen today. And I would say probably one of the biggest things that's going to hit us in our industry is technology. I'm already thinking about Tesla. If Tesla is moving me forward and in a safe manner, and I don't have to worry about rear-ending this guy. I don't have to worry about switching lanes because it tells me it's here. My insurance is changing.
That's a good point.
because I don't have to cover all of those costs. So things are going to be changing that. So obviously I'm looking into that. We're thinking, not me personally, but that is a part of my technology. If I were a doctor or a lawyer, I would have to think about robots. The surgery that I was doing, I whip them, but I have to probably take some more advanced courses. But here goes this thing in here, and it does all this stuff that I was doing, and wearing the little smart cute glasses, and this guy looks in there and does all this stuff and comes back out and is doing it. I would say instead of having 3 surgeons in the room, I might have that robot in there with 1 surgeon, and it's doing it, and a technician, and we're done. I've seen this already happening when I've gone to the hospital. So I have to learn how to deal with those things, because that's leading us into the future. Whether it's your business or my business, it's leading us in the way of that thing. I am now understanding media. I have not learned how to do certain things, but boy, do I have somebody around that can tell me how to do that. Because if I don't understand what Facebook is doing to me, if I don't understand how it operates and all those platforms that I can be on to operate, then I'm going to lose a lion's share of my business. I'm going to lose my prospects. I'm going to lose my customers, and I'm going to not know what's going to happen next year, because all this stuff is happening. I did learn to read a little bit. It tell me, say, yeah, most people say, well, if you hide in a book, I said, you hide in a book, put it in my house, I'm going to find out about it. And if you don't know about that, you're going to be, again, reacting. And today, you have to be proactive.
That's a must. That's a must. Terry, 5 years. What's going on in your industry? 5 years. What's your challenges?
I mean, I had to agree with Howard again. I know that's rare, but I have to agree with Howard.
Man, you don't think a robot would come into your place now? Come on.
Well, yeah. It's technology. I think it's going to affect the majority of the businesses. And we just got out of our National Funeral Directors Convention yesterday. And each year the exhibitors is offered they go, the committee goes around and give out awards for, different new ideas and new products. And the top 3 were to technology companies.
Wow.
So it's happening. It's going to happen. The pandemic has also kind of, changed the curve. For the future. We'll never go back to the norm. So, things like cremations and green burials and things of that nature. So in the next 5 years, it's, it was already moving in that direction, but the pandemic just moved it quicker, into that direction, along with technology helping it, to go in that direction where families can sit at home and make arrangements and, do everything through, the internet, as Howard had said earlier. So, it's really hard to say, even with the automobile industry, for the funeral industry, the manufacturer saying, we don't have to manufacture the cars because it's not the custom, funerals of 4 or 5 years ago.
So interesting.
Yeah. But Terry, you started off with something that was very key, and I want to make sure people are really listening in though. But you started off with saying you just came back from a national conference, and so sometimes you stepping out and really being able to understand your industry and go to the conferences, you're going to find out what's up ahead. You're going to talk to some people that probably have different experiences, that may be coming from a different state. And that shared experience become very powerful to a business owner. And even you 20 years into this thing, you're still going, what we call continuing education, but you're still going to conferences and networking and finding out, what's up ahead. Those things are critically important, even identifying what some of the challenges, are up ahead. And I think is very critical. Sometimes, when we look at some of our businesses, sometimes we, and I'm going to pick on Howard here. You talked about in the beginning working in your business and working your business. And there's a difference between working your business and then working in your business. And we have to talk a little bit about that, because that's something that we also, in our community, sometimes we struggle with that in that particular area. Howard, can you talk a little bit about how you work in your business and how you work on your business or work your business?
Right. Well, it goes back to, again, kind of partial with some of the answers we've already given. it has a lot to do with the HR department. I call it, so people ask me questions, as an HR question. It has to do with your hiring process, where you're bringing people in, and if they don't understand what you have in what their role is and what the role is that they're going to play in your organization, they're going to have you working. If I were a carpenter, I would hire from the trade union. I would not run from somebody that's already doing it. You say, oh man, they're going to take my business. They're not going to take your business. They're going to only sharpen you up. You're going to learn how to compete. You're going to have to, if I bring a young person in with me and they're showing me all of these things, they're making me sharper. They're not frightening me at all. And then when you start looking more at being a CEO of like my organization, the insurance industry, this guy is way high level. He's really focusing on planning for 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. I am thinking about my cash register because I got to pay Sam's Club next week. I'm thinking about what's in that cash register. So that means I have to go out and I have to do sales and things like that. The more I can step away from having to actually do that, the better I can plan for the 5, 10, 15 year ahead. And that really comes from those CE credits that I get. Because every time I log into a system and I get CE hours, they always talk about technology. They talk about advancing. They talk about how you should plan. They're always looking ahead. They're never looking back. I mean, what's behind you can't change it anyway. No. It's just the place that you're stepping off from. So as I move forward, I'm always looking to address things that are probably not so much niche marketing anymore. I have to be able to reach out.
Yeah. That's a tough pill right there. I tell you that much. And I think that we're learning and we're understanding that it takes more than just a notion to run a business. Yeah. But there's certainly some things that we have to do to continue sustaining and continue growing our business. Because I have to tell you, Howard, I've been checking out your Facebook, your State Farm Facebook page, and you guys are quite active now more than I've ever seen. And I think that it speaks to where that you guys have answered the call. But I think one of the things that I'm seeing as I'm a commercial banker and I get an opportunity to work with a lot of business owners and CEOs, there is a certain level of person that has to come with being a chief executive officer. So we're going to talk a little bit about, have some behavioral thought when we talk about being a CEO, the person itself, the business owner. And we want to make sure we build the best CEOs that this region has, but we want to talk about what that looks like. What type of personality traits make a good CEO? When you think about it,
you got to start with Terry on this.
Oh, Terry, when you think about it, and Terry, you're an elected official. And I should have said that. But you've been able to be around a whole lot of people.
Yep.
So the many characters and personality traits that comes along with this. What have you seen to be the personality that you really should have when you're looking at being a chief executive officer?
I guess it can vary to some degree, but I guess very personable. I think if some people say reachable, someone that you can they can kind of come down to different levels. Although they may be the CEO, but they could still walk in into the if it's a office, if it's a high rise, whatever it is, a factory, and stop and can talk to the receptionist or talk to the gentleman that might be cleaning the window. Just someone that I think would be is key. But again, it's other personality traits that they can have. But some of the guys that I've seen, and ladies, I should say, when I say guys, I mean guys and ladies that I've seen is just down to earth, just kind of and watching them from afar, so to speak. How they interact with people, and it's just not too busy. To stand and talk or answer a question or or compliment, the workers or staff on, something that they're doing, or just being able to be, reachable.
I love it. I think
right.
that's right. Howard, what's your thoughts?
Okay. Allow me to be redundant on a few things, but I would say the big character trait I would like to see myself. I'd love to be a CEO one of these days, but I just happen to be a business owner, everybody. And the person has to walk in, you have to understand they have to be confident, but not arrogant. Confident means that I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I already have it planned out. You cannot turn me off my course. That's the kind of guy, that's the kind of company I want to work for. I don't want to go work for you when you say, well, let's see. If you got to do a lot of let's sees, that means you have not seen. You need to go back and find some kind of a focus. You have to have the ability, and I always say the education piece of it is really, really huge. I didn't go as far as I should have, but one of the things that college people say, well, you don't have to have a college degree, and you don't really have to do. But what it does is it rounds you off. You get a chance to see some math. You get a chance to read some and learn how to do some essays. That teaches me how to write a letter to the bank when I'm begging. You have to have those kinds of things in you. You have to have the ability nowadays to stay up to date. You cannot be, I don't care if you're a carpenter. I keep going back to that industry. I don't care if you're a trucker. You cannot miss what the Illinois rules are when you pull that load up on the highway. Otherwise, you're going to be pulled over. You're going to lose a whole bunch of time. So all those things are important. I understand too. I try to attend any seminars that are open and available to me. I try to catch up with webinars that are put out there that will say something about my industry as well as anybody else's, because actually his customers are ultimately my customers or whoever it is. And I have to, I want to be hooked up with the chamber. And I would say to anybody, join AABA, because we are supplying the tools that you need to get the job done. I think those are the things. I mean, you got to be in the community. I follow my friend around all the time. That's why everybody think I'm him.
That's right.
Because I follow him around all the time. If people don't know who you are in the community, they don't know who to reach out to when they need help. And if a young guy comes to me and say, hey, I think I like your business, man. How do you do this? That's one of the traits you want to have. Like you said, you want to be reachable. You want to be approachable. And if you're not a planner or a strategist, go back to the table. You got to be that.
Yeah, I love it. I agree. And I think when I put both together, being approachable and being well-rounded, I think you really are able to get these valuable traits that I think every chief executive officer and business owner ought to have. But I want to dig deeper, because I do hear this a lot, Terry. I hear a lot of people say, that's just not me. I'm not approachable. I don't want to go. I freeze up when I go into a room. I want to be better at it, but where do I start? If I want to be approachable, if I want to be down to earth, if I want to be somebody that really is complimentary to people, and that's a part of me being a good chief executive officer or business owner, how do I work on those skills? How do I come better when I get stage fright or I just don't feel comfortable with interfacing with people? How do I work on that? As a matter of fact, we talked a little bit about technology. Some people are so comfortable with staying behind the computer screen,
right,
that that's how they choose to run their organization.
Right.
But how do you help people get from the computer screen out to the community to really be a leader?
I mean, I hear the term is not for everybody, but you just got to kind of, and it's not going to happen right off the bat. It may take time. But those are good traits. Not to say you have to have those traits either. I don't I just think that those are some good traits to have. But, it's just being yourself and just giving it time, just work on certain things. And I'm not saying, reachable to the point where, everybody you see, you got to stop and, have a conversation with, or a person being that personable. But I think it's just, take takes time, to get to, certain levels, and not to say just because I'm not this, mean not to try and not to give up.
Right.
Great. Good stuff. Yeah. Howard, what's your thoughts?
Well, if you know that you're Moses, get Aaron. And you'll be okay.
I love it.
The thing happens, like you said, sometimes some things are not for everybody. And I almost have to agree with that. Some things are not. If you're not a talker, you're not in my business. He can get away without talking. Yeah, he can come. He can come do his business without talking a whole bunch. But in my business, I have to be able to talk, and I have to do it front facing. I mean, we'll still do some things over through webinars, and we'll do things. We have a system similar to FaceTime within my office. You don't really have to walk in, but I can't shy away from the camera. I can't shy away from my public, if you will. And how do I address that? There are always places that you can go to learn. And I spend that time learning. I read books. I go back to people that do what I do, say what I say. I watch this guy when he's not watching me, and I pick up things. I'm never going to be as quiet as he is, but I can learn how to be humble. And those are the things that you have to pick up as time go on. I mean, you see people start off there. You should have seen me 30 years ago. I thought I was, a little bit more cockier, but boy, time brought me in because I said, hey man, but people don't appreciate it when you come in with your collar open and think some things you just have to change and you have to make it work for you. And then as time go on, some things become more acceptable. You might fit right in, but to part of the course, you just really have to be adaptable. You have to just keep changing. Keep good people. We're going to keep going back to that. You have, am I right?
Yeah.
You got to have good people to perform service. You can't be at everything.
Right.
But this guy that represents you, I cannot come back and say, Terry, man, hey, I can't do that. He has to have people that he trusts to do his job. And that's been my case. A lot of, my thing is a language barrier. And I don't speak Spanish is spoken mostly in my area, and I don't speak to that. But I know enough to say, hey, wait, ho. But the thing is, I know how to have people in place that can do that have my vision. They say, not my plan. I have my plan, but they have my vision. And that's what you have to speak to. And that's what this is doing for us. Everybody that's listening to us talk tonight is going back, getting our ideas, and I'm hoping they're going to call and say, hey, what's that thing called AABA? Sorry about the advertising, but you need it.
Yeah, that's right. We do. Shameless plug is what we call it. But I will tell you this, Howard, you really hit on something that not only I believe describes Terry's best quality, but it is the very essence of what it will take for the type of personality trait to be a CEO. And that's humility. That one thing alone is so powerful for our business owners to walk in humility and be humble no matter where you are in life. And Terry knows this. When we did a survey, AABA, African American Business Association, we did a survey and we talked to the business community. And what we found out is a large number of those businesses said, we look up to Terry. We look up to what he's been able to build. Yes. But when you talk to Terry, you're not going to know what he is in control over and his influence and his what he brings to the table. You may not know it off the bat because he walks in the spirit of humility. And what humility, I believe, will do in business is it will allow you to be able to exercise and pull up from people that may be the very opposite of what you bring to the table. And you're able to reach across and ask those people to help you to carry the torch and to be able to help you to carry out the vision and the mission. And the more humble you are, the more you are receptive to learning and growing. And the more I believe you'll have people on your side that's willing to carry out your mission and vision. Absolutely. And I think that speaks to the success. Yes. But I will tell you, a part of tonight is, I believe, always being able to open up a door of transparency and being able to let people know when we don't get it right sometimes. So I want to ask you all, as a CEO or business owner, tell us not only the best part of being a CEO, but let's open the door and find out what is the worst part of being a CEO? What is the worst part of being a CEO? And I'm sure we got all ears right now because people want to hear, what does Terry Morris, what does Howard Wright feel is the worst part of being a CEO? But let's start off with the best part, and then let's go with the worst part if we can. And we'll start with you, Terry, and we'll go to Howard.
Okay.
Well, the best part, I guess it would be, you know, you mean for me personally, for what?
Your experiences, yeah.
No, don't tell us about that. Go ahead.
It's just where I feel you're in a position that you can help others, and you have this company behind you, or you have this staff behind you that you can, you know, because they working with you or for you, and so if this person needs something, then you have that authority to, you know, to do that as the CEO. Whether it's and I think I had seen something about human capital, you know, just the people, you know, to lend a hand or to do this, as well as, you know, financially too, you know, you're able to kind of extend that, you know, as the CEO.
Right.
You know.
Very good. I love it. I love it. So within that vein, Howard, we're gonna go back to what's the worst part, but we're gonna start. What is the best part about being this? And as you could tell, Terry was very, very humble about his best part about being a CEO is helping people, helping others. That's such a Terry thing, but he it's just true. It's in his blood. It's in his blood. So Howard, the best part of being a CEO, what's your response?
You want me to put down Terry's number one choice, or just go for my choice? Well, you know, obviously the best part of this is when the part that I feel so good about is my grandfather that put me out there and left me on jobs by myself as a teenager because he trusted me. And the best part about this is that once you get to once you become a CEO, people trust you.
That's right.
They have to. That goes with your leadership role. And, you know, you might pump the lapel there and say, yeah, I'm a leader, but the humility has to be in there with that. And if it does not, man, your success fades away. I don't care if you run a baseball, football, choir, whatever it is, you won't have any members if you're going the wrong way with your attitude. Obviously, if there were any money involved, I don't think we'd be sitting here tonight. I'm sorry. I took his number one choice and moved on to my paper. If there were no money involved, you would not be. That does not mean that that's success.
That's right.
That's the evidence. But that does not mean that people that have money, you talk to most millionaires, they probably have a little bit of debt. Okay? So you have to understand that that's part of it. But to be able to function and be a part of the community and know that people come to you as a person that we look up to, man, wow. Yeah. I don't know how to put a price tag on that.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah. When somebody says, I want to do what you're doing, tell me how you do that. And then obviously sometimes you tell them how you do it and how you got there, they're like, wow. That's the last word you get is wow. But it's still a part of the job. The status is a part of the job to be able to help people and be out there and be in front of the community as a leader.
Yeah. And
yes, sir.
I think everybody can probably feel it, that we have really true servant leaders in our community. And it makes me feel good to be here, to be able to hear what true servant leadership is. And both of these gentlemen do serve their community. So I know, and you all know that they mean it. And it feels real good. But now we get a chance to hear the worst part of being a CEO and business owner. What is your worst part, Terry, you feel of being a CEO?
You know, it probably time, you know, away from family. I'm sorry, I'm messing up
the set.
You supposed to did that.
I missed my role.
You know, just the time away from family. I mean, you still have some time, but not, you know, as much as kind of how alluded to earlier. It's not like just a 9 to 5. You know, you in it for the long haul. You misses special occasions and things of that nature.
Right.
So that to me is the worst part.
Yeah. Wow. That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Howard, what's the worst part?
Well, I chose two things out of many when I say the worst part. In anybody industry, and I believe you would agree with me, whatever goes wrong, your fault, my fault, nobody's fault.
Oh yeah.
The buck stops here. I have to answer for whatever goes wrong. Sometimes that gets to be a little heart wrenching. You have to go back and you have to regroup. I have to call somebody and say, man, what would you do? And they say, well, I don't know, man, you in it. But that sometimes that can be the worst part of it. And I would say number 2 on the chart would be if I failed. I just can't do that. I can't fail, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I couldn't go out of business. If I just couldn't go out of business. I might not be the best salesman. I may not be the best singer in the choir or anything, but no, I can't fail. And I guess that's part of what makes us who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what makes
right.
you who you are.
Yeah.
I agree.
You can't tell me, you say, oh man, oh no, I can't, man. I don't think you people come to you with situations, you say, man, I don't know if I can work with it. You can't say that.
No.
I have to call somebody and get an idea of how I can put this together. So I think that's what makes us leaders. Leaders are made, you say, are they born? I'm still arguing that point. I think they get made over time, Some things have to be addressed and they have to be kind of like manicured, like I was before I came on the set, spruced up a little bit. Some things have to be changed. They have to be adjusted. But time does that for you. Now you see some of these young fellows, man, that come into the industry, man, it looks like they've already been here. But you know what they've done? They've done some study someplace else. They've actually followed somebody else.
That's right.
You know what? The guy that's, I don't like Green Bay that well, but their quarterback, he probably saw Bart Starr a long time ago and followed them that film. You think? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That is good stuff. But I love this opportunity because I get the opportunity to dig a little deeper. And Terry, you said something that most business owners and most CEOs struggle with and they neglect. But it's real. And that's that key word that you mentioned, and you said it, and that word is sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you think does business owner and CEO, and especially in the beginning, because our viewers, our audience size is going to be thousands of people that are new, that have been in it for a while. Some of them, I remember, and this is our second episode here. They mentioned before that there's a work-life balance that needs to be in place here, but there's still a part of this thing that business owner and CEOs have to sacrifice.
Wow.
What does that look like, and how far is too far with sacrifice, and how little is too little of sacrifice? And I know that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question. So how about this? Let's take it this way. Let's share experiences. How often do you believe you sacrifice in the beginning to get your business to where it's at today?
Probably a wife.
Wow. Man.
I mean, looking back, I mean, I put a lot of time,
Right.
in it. And it just, I probably wouldn't have knowing that, but I don't know if I would be where I'm at. It's just, it's just one of those things, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I looked at other, people that I looked up to and they did it, I'm not sure exactly how, because I wasn't there with them when they first started, but I'm kind of seeing them in the middle of it, and they doing it, and from talking to them, they telling me they kind of did, the same thing, that I was, going out to accomplish. So I mean, that's a tough one though, but again, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things that I guess the individual person have to kind of just figure it out,
Yeah. And
to a certain extent, you know.
it's a big balancing act for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Howard.
Well, that's one of those questions that makes you go, because what you have to do, and this is what I'm passing on to my children and now my grandchildren. It needs to be God, family, man. So when I say God, you need to spend some time with him. You need to spend some time with your family. And then when we talk about man, that means your money part, your work part. It has to be in there. Sometimes those things get out of balance. Well, your car get out of balance. Your tires get out of balance. You know where to go back to. I had to learn to go back and rebalance some things. They got out of balance because, obviously, if somebody paints that picture that's been painted for a while, boy, it looks so good. You think you can do your first painting like that? You're going to be wiping that thing out, going back, doing it again. And that applies to carpenters, that applies to the bricklayers. You're going to put some things together and they're just not going to work. I know a recording artist goes through this thing all the time. They lay track after track after track and have to go do it again. And I know they put a lot of time in it. But you have to find that balance. Nobody can talk it into you. You have to find it. You know who your mate is. You know you know what your industry does, and you know what it dictates. If it dictates doing this, and you go in there knowing you got to study the playbook.
Yep.
Don't go in there saying, I have to go get a haircut tomorrow morning. You have to study, man. And I just don't know. I can't tell anybody coming in. The only thing I can do is go back to when you do your plan. Don't plan it off of somebody that's been in here for 30 years. If you had the best option, it would be to talk to somebody that's just jumped off. Then you can kind of see what it's like. But if you jump out there and I follow him, I was like, I can't cut it down like that. I have to come back and say, hey, man, what'd you do the first year? And then he'll tell me. And then I'll really understand how it works out.
Yeah, very good. Now, sacrificing too little. You're starting a business. This is your first year or two.
Yeah.
And you've gotten a lot of important meetings that you got going on. And you feel comfortable with spreading those out evenly. You're balancing to where you need to be. Is there such thing as when you start, you do need to work a little bit harder than the next man? That's one of those things that we kind of hear.
Yeah.
How much is too little of a sacrifice? And a lot of what we said earlier, and I love it. Howard, you mentioned the redundancy of a lot of things that we talk about. And,
Right.
and sometimes you have to re-drill this thing on. You guys talking about the power of having a financial planner. Well, what happens at the end of the year when your financial plan wasn't met? Does that mean that there's a sacrifice issue? How do we look at how much time and effort and work we're putting into our business, and how much is too little of sacrifice in your first couple of years?
Am I going first?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, how much is too little? I can tell you, that's probably why I'm in Will County. If you don't pay attention early, real early, you're out of the game. I don't care what business you're in, you're out of the game. I don't know where you find your customers. Well, but as your customer will say, hey, you're not in the office, where you want me? I mean, I came by your office, you weren't there. All of those things kind of play into it. In order to get that balanced out, and you through the financial plan in there, the forecast. I like to think of my plan, and I go back and I do it every year in October. I try to end it up by the end of November so I can spot check during December, because I'm going to try to live by that for the next 12 months. But that's based off of what I felt back in those 11 or 12 months prior to that, and some other years prior to that. And I kind of feel that anybody that's going to do that have to have something in front of them. And then you have to understand, when you have those variances, there are things that come up that will knock you out. You didn't know the furnace was going out. You have to buy another car. In your case, when you buy a car, you buy a car. You don't just go pay $30,000 for a car. You have to plan for that. Even your CPA can't really plan it. He just can look historically and say, okay, you got these X amount of miles on this car. If you had to trade or get rid of it, if it breaks down, you got to be prepared to put 10,000, 15, 20,000. But all of those things come from talking to your mentor. And I'll tell you this one, you didn't ask. But I'm glad you did, actually. If you're talking to somebody your age, you're getting the information. Because all they're telling you is what they heard and what they saw. If you're talking to something, if you step up a little bit and talk to somebody, you'll get some knowledge. and they can tell you what they've been through already. But if you go way out there to the guy that's already done this for a level amount of time, you got to choose the right kind of time period to look into. You don't want a guy that's still pouring concrete out of a bucket. But you want to get a guy that's over here that's done some things a fair amount of time. Then you will get wisdom. You know, we've been talking about that for a while.
Right.
That's a guy that's tested his knowledge against time.
That's right.
And if you're not, well, you need to check with all three of those people really to know what's going on today. Because I talk to young people now, so I don't know, what's this computer thing? What's this that popped up on my phone? Hey, help me get this off my phone. What's this? So I'm getting it, but I'm only getting information. They don't know anything about this guy, the wisdom that the guy put into this to make this thing work. They haven't, but they're getting knowledge as they go along in life. And if you're not playing and dealing with all three of those areas, and especially dealing in wisdom, I don't care how much time you put into your business. I don't care how much time you build in. I don't care how much money you throw in it. It's just going to go out the back door. We're back again to our first conversation. You really have to plan.
Yep.
And
That's
you
right.
have to plan.
Yep.
Did I say plan? You really have to plan.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Terry, sacrifice. What's too little?
You know, I guess it just, I think sometimes that your, I would say, customer base kind of dictates, or is how, but you said at the end of the year, you know, where you at financially. And if you're not there where you should be or where you think you should be or where the, if other companies have did, right. Then you need to sacrifice more.
Right.
You know, and to get there, whatever that might be. I just think sometimes your business would kind of dictate if you didn't do enough.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
And that goes down to really knowing your business and knowing, where you fall in at. Believe it or not, gentlemen, there's a lot of people in business that cannot tell you how their business performed the year prior. How would you say, how important is it to know the numbers? Even if you're not a number person, how important is it to know the numbers? How important is it to know where your business fell at 2 years ago, last year, and how you're performing today? We'll start with Terry, and then we'll go to the numbers man himself.
You know what? That's kind of like the most important part of your business is to kind of know where you at financially. You know, and it's been said tonight, you know, that it's planning, you know, and I know a lot of business owners or people that want to go in business did not have a plan, and us sometimes as people we're real good in what we do, but it's not the business. It's just what we might be good in. If it's sales, we could sell, whatever, we can sell, but the business part of it is the key, is the most important. I think the most important part of it. Yeah.
Right. Howard, the numbers.
You got to know the numbers. You got to understand the numbers. And in my case, I got so far away from the numbers that I had to hire somebody to help me with those. And man, that improved my focus because, we think, you need to take some time off. I need to take some time off. I really need to take some time off. But I can't go anyplace because I didn't pay attention to the numbers. I really can't. Visa told me, decline. So what am I doing now? It's not about working hard. Whoever coined this some time ago said it's about being smart with what you do. And if you don't understand your numbers, if I don't know, I'll talk about my industry, I want to talk about yours. But if I don't know how many car policies I need to sell to make this much money, I don't know how many houses I need to sell to make this much money. That's what it comes out to. If I haven't gotten it down someplace and made that work out, and if I don't understand that I know I have utilities, I know I have rent or I have a mortgage, and I know, and then I duplicate that as a business person. You duplicate that again at your own home. All of this stuff comes under that umbrella. That doesn't go from someplace else. And when you're doing all those things, if you have not put that on paper, if you can't see it, I'm telling you, man, it can be a troubling factor. And then at the end of the year, it's too late to go back and say, here's what I do. And then if you're making it up with credit, you're really getting behind because you're making that other guy rich and you're not going anyplace. So you have to have, we're back to that again. You have to have a plan. And I say again to anybody, call AABA first, but then you would need to have some mentors. And if you don't know where they are, I think we're putting together a group of people that understand how it took to even start, how to even get the vision to say, maybe I'm an accountant. I'm not a real estate broker. Maybe I'm this or maybe I'm that. But we have those people that we have made connections with that can get us going to the next level. And, and then I got to be able to spend some time, and I need to spend some of my money. If I haven't earned or saved any money to get out there on, I don't know where your capital is. I remember the banker I told you about back in 1991, he asked me, where is your capital? My capital was sitting in the parking lot. But you know what cars are worth? They're not worth very much. So your capital needs to be some money from someplace. Either you got to borrow it, you got to have something that works for you. And that comes into your plan. And if you haven't put that into your plan, I don't know what you're spending. But I do know what you are doing. You're spending a lot of time.
That's it. Yep, a whole lot of time. Yeah. So listen, we're at the last few moments of tonight's hour. And I have been privileged to learn so much, and I'm sure our audience have as well. I want you all to take a minute to really speak to the business community in our region, and really the theme tonight was getting back to the basic. A lot of what you all talked about was getting back to the basics, and not really deviating from it. But when we think about that theme, getting back to the basics. What are your parting words to the struggling business, to the inspiring business owner, to the experienced business owner that feel like they're in a bit of a rut, and they need somewhat of a revival? They need to find a way to really to strike gold and to go at the business concept again. What would be, or what are your parting words to Black businesses in this region? We will start with Terry, and then we will end with Howard. Okay.
If you find yourself in any of those situations, I think to reach out, to organizations such as AABA, the camaraderie of others, even if it's not the same business that you're in, sometimes it's the same issues that another person might have dealt with, or they may know someone that it's just the camaraderie of coming together with organizations, with people similar to you, coming from similar background, and just reaching out again, and it's okay to start over, with a bit, if you didn't do a business plan, I keep doing that. My hands behind my back. Working it out. Just, you may need, as Howard said, bring someone in, maybe an older person, maybe a younger person. It's just, again, not to give up. Easy and just keep, it might need to change locations, it's just different. It's just different factors that, you can do. And one of the main ones is just, reaching out to a business type organization such as AABA. Honestly, I think that would speak volume in getting you some information. And if I get one more minute, I just want to say, because this is about it.
Absolutely.
Before we turn it over, I need to see those surveys that you spoke about earlier, and we need to recount them.
I think some of those, they were talking to me.
They didn't know. They didn't look alike.
I mean, I'm truly honored, that people that feel that way, and I try to do my best, to be a good businessman and to help anyone, that I can. Also, to move forward. We in the funeral industry, you have apprentice, and we always open to other younger and sometimes older, funeral directors that need to do an apprenticeship, because it's just, reaching back and pulling, up whoever you can.
Right.
But I need to count those surveys and make sure I was serious about that. But again, truly honored.
Oh, thank you so much, for sure. Howard, parting words, sir.
Well, if someone walked up to me today, and which sometimes people do that on a random basis, and say, I want to start a business, where do I start? If you had that conversation with more than, let's see, 3 people, if you had that, I want to start a business, I don't know where to start. If you had that conversation with 3 people, maybe you're not ready to start. You have to understand that that's not it. Maybe it's not. Business is not you. Being somebody's backup is not bad. I would be Scottie Pippen right now. I'd take it. Because Michael Jordan wouldn't be what he is. He wouldn't have got those shots without Scottie Pippen.
That's right.
So you have to keep thinking in that vein. So if I know that, if you're still out there and you're looking to start a business, this AABA, African American Business Association here in Joliet, Illinois, is a good place to partner. You'll find people that are at all levels of success that can help you and mentor you. You have to know your strengths and you have to know where you're weak. I would not open a restaurant and hope to run it because I can't cook. So why would I open a restaurant? Just because somebody told you could cook. You might want to try that out someplace else. And it will start with a mechanic. All of that wisdom speaks to everybody. If you're not in your comfort zone, if you're not in your niche, and if you're not in your market, success is not coming to you easily. So you have to know what your strengths are. Then after you find out what your strength is, you just have to remain adaptable because as time changes, you got to adapt to whatever's coming to you. If you know you're weak in areas, hire big. Have an HR. If I were going to do something tomorrow with my business different, I'd probably hire an HR department, a whole department, and not just a person, a whole department. It's a strange thing about it now. I don't care where you go. Before you open that door, they would have you come in and work and pay for your meal. They say, if we're looking for employees. But it's not that it's so much a shortage of employees. It's a shortage of people that want to do that particular thing. When you find that particular thing that you want to do and you want to start that business, I don't want to go back to planning again. I want to go back to understanding your strengths, and I want to understand my weaknesses. And if those things glare in your face and you still have to ask somebody else about it, step back.
Step back. Yeah, step back. And I think that I'm really loving that particular note. A lot of what we heard tonight really was a reminder of why it's so important that we look at our mission, that we look at our vision, that we understand ourselves, who we are as CEOs and business owners, and that we are planning for the future. And this has been an incredible hour. And we hope that the information that was shared, that you are able to literally take the information and run with it and dominate in your own area, dominate your own niche. I want to make sure I first thank the guests. Thank you all for taking the time out for this last hour to view in and listen in and learn from these very talented and very exceptional business owners right here in the Joliet region. We believe that local talent is very strong in our area, and we're going to do everything we can with the African American Business Association and Joliet Regional Chamber to highlight these particular folks, and even more additional episodes. We will be highlighting our CEOs. I also want to make sure this will not be possible without our sponsors. And I want to take the time to really make sure we highlight all of our sponsors that have made this CEO Roundtable a continued success. And we're just getting started. I want to make sure we first thank Minor and Morris Funeral Home for, again, being one of our elite sponsors for allowing us to this night to come to pass. I also want to make sure I thank State Farm Insurance for, again, working with us and Howard Wright's office of working to make sure that this information and this wisdom goes out to our business owners. We also want to thank Awesome Cleaning, a local business here in Joliet, and we're excited again about partnering with them for continued success in this particular area. And last but not least, First Federal Savings Bank. The local banker in this particular area, Donnell Cole, has partnered with us to continue to see this particular platform of the CEO Roundtable to exist. And we are excited about really the future of what we have in store for the next episode. Stay tuned. Please be on the lookout for your future CEO roundtables, and we'll always end with, again, thanking you, our guests, our viewers, for tuning in on tonight. Until next time, we ask that you will have a wonderful evening, and we will certainly see you in the future. Thank you.